Office exterior, Club Darius. Early morning. Hobo gets thrown out of a taxi, like Valuesworth in the first episode. And he also has his Elmo doll, looks around dumbfounded at the driver before they speed off. The hobo says, "How dare you, sir?" and shakes his fist in the air.
"Hey, exact change only, you bum,"
Taxi yells while speeding off. Daylight has come. Must have been a week or two since the last one. Reminds me of that week I spent in Japan. Or was it Saigon in '68? Back then, only ping pong ball was in the arcades. Man. And pong. That was some sort of science fiction fantasy. And no one thought of using flutes for transportation. No, that's stupid, Leroy. Why would I do that? I have to have some secrets, you know. Keeps me interesting at parties. Like back in Saigon in '68. Like I said, there was a before time. Before the wizards invented a way to lengthen time, that is. And soon came the elves, swords, elves with swords, and the beautiful gems. And of course, those damn flutes. I could never find them all. Even when I was calling that hotline, those 900 numbers, man, they charge a fortune. Which reminds me, how did I get here? But time is short for us mortals, combative as we may be, which is arguably why they had to lengthen it. Shit's a maze on that merciless planet. I was so close to getting that last flute. I'm certain of it. Or, wait, was that Applebee's? Oh, that's right, last week, with Lamont and Archibald. You know the one, right? It's off Jefferson Street. Why didn't you come with? I can't understand. Endless barrage of shit. Saucers attack coming in hot. South of the border hot. Applebee's dishwasher hot. If I had found that relic before them, maybe they would have just gave me that tuna sandwich for free. Like in Japan in '68. Moto is introduced with his dilemma to come up with a new game by tomorrow, or he will be demoted. Horace poops in his coffee while he takes a break working overnight to come up with an idea. He drinks the coffee and is transported to a world. There's a fantastic hills and turtles are everywhere, and bricks and killer flowers shoot plasma at him. Horace, back in the office, is watching him freak out in his sleep and decides he'd better wake him up. Horace has magically created much of the game and the artwork on large poster boards with a display for it. Wake up, you twat! Oh no! The meeting! It's any minute! Wait a moment! Did that bird talk? This is horrible. I'm going to end up like old man Gunpie, cleaning the toilets for the rest of my life. All this for me? Thank you, magic lucky red crown crane! Moto enters the boardroom, looking like he was sleeping.
I know you're not ready to present. I saw you sleeping the whole night. So,
but I am ready. Look, I've got everything with me.
I am sorry, Moto, but our last product did not do so well in the States. We need to have our best talent working on a new project that is ready to go fast to replace before we lose too much money in the American market. Go ahead, Senpai.
Miyamoto-san is always overlooked for his talent. I insist that he should be allowed to go. Yama tries to deflect, but then his head programmer, who is about to present, steps down and says the same thing to Yama. Yama, please give Miyamoto a chance. His work is quite impressive. If you keep an open mind, he's got a lot to prove.
Okay, Yamamoto. This is your chance. You really are sure you've got everything? You really are sure you've got everything? Okay, Yamamoto. No. Okay, Moto. It's your chance. You really are sure you've got everything?
Yama asked. Moto smiles and bows and says, "Yes, thank you. I assure you in our success, Father." Yama, screwed in his face, breaks a slight smile, and he nods.
Very well, son. Very well. Very well, son.
All of the board is full of very stuffy-looking old Japanese businessmen. Very serious, absolutely quiet, as Moto comes through the room, apologizing, bowing to each of them, as they stare in mild pity at his slavish appearance. Moto is smiling and sweating and makes a final extra low bow that almost looks like he's about to beg on the floor. The secretary looks at him and makes sure he's okay. He gets to his feet, announces the game. The secretary takes the first card and puts it on the display stand for him. We see 8 worlds, each totally different, looking with maze-like maps filled with foreboding foes, and of course a golden flute at the top of each map's main mountain. He explains how the character will arrive with no knowledge of the world, no weapons, and must find and explore the world's many dungeons to find the keys to enter the mountain. When they reach the top of the mountain and defeat the evil beings at the top, they will receive one of the flutes of power. As he explains this all nervously, his voice painfully quiet, we can see the board growing increasingly confused, upset. One of them finally gets up and says, "Yamaguchi-san, we have waited months for a completed game to bring stateside. Your son's game is most acceptable. But we have little time to make sure it properly works and can be manufactured and shipped promptly. As you know, our shares have been dropping rapidly. We have no choice but to make this game in its current form. Give him a new salary to match his skill." All the men agree.
All the men agree. The whole board agrees,
says one of them after checking in on the murmurs from the other. Checking in on the murmurs from the others as they nod in agreement with him. Yamaguchi looks at Miyamoto in astonishment, and he does so back at Yamaguchi.
Very well, Yokoi-san. Very well.
He bows. The order sits around a glowing portal. A member with a cubistic head is pulled from the portal and stands beneath the head of the order.
"Councilmen, you have been brought before this hearing on behalf of the Greater Order and its quest to strengthen our time gates. Please explain how it is that this time dilation you have proposed to be enacted in the earthen world. How is it that you see a way of beating our foes' attempts in the year 1930?
You mean in time point C? I can promise you with enough time.
There is little time, Councilman.
I mean in our own relative time vacuum, or the right amount of time. Certainly I shall solve the issue of Seth.
Cannot be done, Councilman.
Whirl, one of the 3 highest members, beaming into the hearing. Your Excellency, I know this is hard to grasp, but I got this figured out. I have the solution. We must use our...
Here we go again with the stupid flutes.
Our flutes of power exist in the outrealms, and I saw them in a vision.
No, look, even if we had the flutes, what you're proposing is beyond risk. The possibility is too great it will damage permanently one of our most precious gates. All we've worked so hard to rebuild. Centuries! And for what? Why, the High Council hasn't banished you with the rest of those mercenaries?
The councilman is dismissed from the hearing. He glows in the portal and fades out. Now back in his homeland, a place with crazy geometric shapes floating around, he turns around and is approached by Horace, who has snuck into his home. "Hey, councilman, I heard the little interrogation. You didn't actually expect them to listen, did you?" "Oh, if they find out what we've done, Horace." "Hey, don't worry. It's going to work out fine. Even Talpa is going to let us use his gateway to reach the program. Of course, on the basis that I don't ever use his castle again." Like ever. VW is at Moe's. Ahmed plays Pong and impresses a local girl. She's giggling, and Ahmed is shouting at the game in despair as he loses. Moe is ushering in a group of young metal musicians. He's polite, but you can tell his... So, gentlemen, you say you can bring in a good crowd. Moe rubs his hands together and stops as he realizes how it presents him. He gestures at the stage in the back of the bar. It is still a mess from when the comedy ghost put on.
We had 200 at the show last week, I think. Is that a disco ball?
Yeah, we're currently doing maintenance to the bar. We had a large flood last week, but I can assure you this area will be ready for you kids to dance the night away. I'm still not as powerful as when they did those experiments on me, huh? It's hard to say. We need to put you in some low-level threat scenario to find out where you are and what you can do. Okay, great. What does that mean? Well, remember that party with Manowitz? How could I forget? I met Sigmund Freud. Well, the Order is having trouble with events in that time period, let's say. With gangs come turf wars, right? Yeah, sure, I suppose. What's this have to do with me, though? Look, kid, we have to get you up to speed with the other gang. Set, like the Egyptian god. That's right. So we used to be all one big happy family. And, well, never mind. Point is, we need to see where power is at. I had to go behind the greater order's back. What? Why? Well, we need to get more time to find some artifacts. Like that stupid amulet you sent me to get. No, nothing like that. See, there's these flutes. This is gonna sound stupid. Very powerful flutes. They'll give you... Okay, so they're very powerful. They'll give the Order more turf to fight this gang. The more realms, the more gates we have. The better we can outwit our foes. You following? You know, this is getting kind of weird talking to a seagull about this. Fine. I'll take on human form. Clearly obvious to the... You're clearly oblivious to the fun of feathers. Horace takes off out a small skylight in the middle of the bar. Moments later, Horace, a beautiful black woman dressed up for the disco, walks in and sits down next to VW. Horace, is that you? Horace grabs a smoke out of the purse and lights it. Nods. VW drooling. Wow, you look great. Hey, eyes up here. Don't get fresh with me. Pushes VW away playfully. Okay, anyway, so where are these flutes? That's the trouble, honey. We don't have enough psychic power to keep the gates open to where you... That's the trouble. We don't have enough psychic power to keep the gates open to where we think they are. Where you think they are? You mean you don't even know? Hold on. How do I fit into this? I'll tell you. If you give me a moment. If we have more psychic juice, more brains, more consciousness pointing to those realms, then we can manifest the locations. Huh? Yes, they exist out there, but we can't get enough people thinking about the worlds, these flutes. We can use that consciousness to open up the gates. Oh shit, that's some wild stuff there. So, how do we get enough people thinking about it? Have you ever been to an arcade? Ahmed, playtime is over. Tell your little friends it's time to go. Uncle, please! My arm is still sore. I've already done my chores for the morning. You do know I need to study for my test this week. Uh-huh. No sass from you, Pong Master. I finally got a hit new group to play. We haven't had a disco here. Listen, you need to completely rewire the soundstage. We need the disco ball working. My Mercedes needs a wash as well. We can't afford for you and your friends to be standing around all day. The girl slinks away. But Uncle, would you look at what you scared her away with your shouting. I can't believe you. I can't believe you. You realize how hard it is for me to find women out here. It's not like in Persia. I had my pick of the litter. Everyone says my eyebrows are too exotic and has unrealistic beauty standards. I want to go back home.
Are you done pouting? Are you done pouting? Look, I can get you a date. I'll even arrange time off for you, but you need to clean every part of the club. Today. VW is flown in by seaplane and boards a mid-sized boat. Horace has been taken the form of a seagull and is perched above on a radio line. Near Cuba, 1946, overlaid on screen. VW climbs out the side of the plane onto a small dock floating in the ocean with the boat. He climbs up the side of the boat and looks around on deck. No one's here? Huh. He looks visibly confused and keeps looking around for a moment. Out of nowhere, VW gets punched by Hemingway's enormous fist. He staggers a moment and then gains his balance. Wow! Wow! That was a good hit. Wow! That was a good hit you took. VW sees the man now, large, with shorts and no shirt. A Thompson submachine gun strapped to his chest, with a belt of German stick grenades covered in blood. Okay, come at me. VW goes low and for an uppercut, but gets hit over the head. Hemingway takes off his belt. VW gets a solid left-right on Ernest, who staggers a little bit, but only because he's drunk. You seem worthy enough. You throw a good right hook. A little rusty, I can tell, though. Our mutual connection says you're powerful with mental abilities as well. Well, that should be interesting. He offers him a flask. Here. Take what you like. Belliesworth looks at the flask he's been handed. But it's 8 in the morning. Yeah, well, I've been up all night on patrol. Thank you. When in Rome, can you tell me what it is you're doing out here? Hunting down the man. Oh fuck. Hunting down the enemy of mankind. I'm gonna take that it's Nazis. Yes, my boy. Well, actually, we're not very well equipped. We try to avoid them if we can, and sabotage their attempts to find whatever it is they think is down there. Points off to the boat. Horace mentioned something about an artifact. There's something here. They've sent too many men to their graves over it to be nothing. OSS has managed to sabotage the U-boats in the region thus far with my help. Wow, you sound like a real-life Indiana Jones. Who's he? One of those pulp comic heroes, no doubt. I'm simply a man who loves to live life to my fullest ability. Who's he? One of those pulp comic heroes, no doubt. I'm simply a man who loves to live life and live it to its fullest. Nearby under the water, a U-boat trying to get into a gate into the Atlantis ruins. Hem shows a carving with order on it to VW. They seem to be holding many worlds. What are they? Gods? They're like your friends here. They're like your friend up there. Points up to the seagull on the line. U.S. Naval Intelligence says they've been seen in U-boats in this area surface with stone that looks like this one. U-boat surfaces and men come out of the top hatch and man the AA gun. Hemingway slams VW to the floor of the boat. Get to the gun! A small group of armed soldiers come out of Hemingway's boat and return fire. Hemingway jumps onto the U-boat and starts fighting hand-to-hand with while tossing stick grenades and blowing up Nazis. VW, crawling out on the floor, gets to the AA gun on Hemingway's ship. A soldier jumps on it and pushes him aside. He starts trying to aim at the crew on the U-boat deck, but Hemingway has most of them fighting too close to him, and he finally gets someone in the crosshairs. A large explosion comes out of the water. A UFO has blasted out from under the water. The soldier switches his sights to the saucer and starts to open fire, but it has a force field and the bullets ricochet. It opens fire on the deck and blows almost most of the crew with one bolt of plasma beam.
VW jumps out of its path as it claims the Browning gunner. VW gets up and tries to pull the gunner off the grips, but he is carbonized and melted to the gun. He pushes with all his might, and the gunner's hands crack off the gun and splinter apart. VW looks and shoves the body away from the AA. He tries to reload the belt, and it works. "Abandoned ship! Abandoned ship!" yells one of the surviving crewmen. VW continues to aim at the saucer, but it flies too high to hit. VW looks to the U-boat for signs of Hemingway. He sees him fighting someone who has his head slammed into the hatch, but it's too far away. Horse flies up to the UFO. We see it has the German cross on its side with rivets and other signs of terrestrial origins. Horse cracks his wings and creates a blast that knocks it down toward the boats. A flash of lightning is shot out of the sky. It hurtles toward the ground at VW. UFO crashes into the boat as VW jumps into the water. He swims to the U-boat, but its klaxon is blaring and it begins to dive. The Nazi who is attacking Hemingway kicks him away from the hatch and climbs inside, leaves him to drown as the water climbs to the top of the ship. VW swims to meet him as he is bleeding from the head and clinging to the boat. Before he reaches him in the frothing water and suction, he gives up and returns to the debris of Hemingway's boat. Corpses float in the water with fire debris and smoke clouding the air. VW looks on, mournful of his new friend's demise. "Horace! Horace! Horace!" He looks around. Klaxon stops, and the ship is gone. Relative silence, and then the U-boat emerges from the depths. VW clings to the side of what is left of the hull and pulls the knife from his vest, trying to hide himself. The U-boat settles in the water, bobbing up and down.
Now on to more pressing matters. It does appear to be conceivable.
Behind our backs? Have we grown so feeble over the eons for it to be true?
If the councilman really is a mole for Set, then it's possible he's convinced others to join their ranks.
Come now, let us not be so hasty. There are dozens of reasons that the time gate apparatus could have been visited by the councilman in question, without him being compromised by Set.
Maybe he's just nuts. You've heard how he goes on about those flutes.
But we know for sure the chamber that houses the apparatus that controls the time gates have been sabotaged. We must act quickly.
Yes.
Yes! Yes!
Ahmed cleans everything. Montage. Fixing the disco ball. Sweeping the stage of trash. Running lights and installing cables for sound. Cleaning the bar. Lifting drinks and cleaning under passed out patrons. People get in a fight, and one of them throws a chair that almost hits Ahmed. He ducks, and it smashes against the wall. He gets back up with the broom. He finds the hobo in the attic with the Elmo doll hiding in a corner, like an opossum. He hisses at Ahmed. He approaches him with a sandwich in one hand. The hobo jumps up and runs full hill to him. Ahmed outside in the garage cleaning the interior of Mo's Mercedes-Benz in the back seat. The hobo wakes up in the front seat in a chauffeur's outfit. Ahmed tosses him another sandwich, and he digs into it. "You can't get any stains on that uniform. That's your meal ticket."
What's in these sandwiches? They're exquisite.
The Hemingway-controlled U-boat surfaces in Antarctica. Inside the sub, VW looks at some papers in the captain's room. Maps show what appears to be a large fortification in Antarctica. Briefings on a plan for the American and Allied forces to attack the stronghold. That's Operation High Jump. It's about to unfold today. Not everyone in the U.S. military is okay turning over the country to the Germans. But I thought Germany was defeated in 45. Didn't I hear you mention we're in 46 now? The Germans are puppets, just like the Americans. The real power lies beyond the flags and colors they put on their soldiers and planes. They're all controlled by similar groups. There's just infighting sometimes on who gets to play with the new toys. Boom! Well, gents, the party is about to get started. I thank you for you for helping me. We will rendezvous with Navy intelligence in 0300. You're free to be on your way once I'm cleared by them. Order finds out that the councilman has successfully strengthened their gateway network and found one of the flutes, which they can use to increase their overall power. They unceremoniously banish Lila to the planet of the mercenaries, a barren land of war where legions await their service to the Order. We get a sense that the Order's scale is beyond just Earth. She begins fighting the inhabitants of the planet in a battle royale style free-for-all. VW ends up having a confrontation at the Eyes Wide Shut party. VW and Horace flash teleport into a water closet in an old world mansion. Piano music and ominous chanting can be heard outside. What's this? Another party, Horace? Yeah, I figured it was worth showing you who's actually the real foot soldiers on Earth who's fighting. Nazis being more middle management types. Here's the real bosses. Here, put this mask on. Horace manifests a small Venetian masquerade mask for VW. We have Valuesworth changes into party attire as well. We have a plant here. Go to the pianist and tell him Big Bird is on the street after some sesame. He'll hand you a password to get you into the locked chambers upstairs. Big Bird is on the street after some sesame. Got it. VW leaves the water closet and looks around at the party apprehensively. Some people are talking and drinking, and overall it appears normal. He walks down the hall, and some people are having sexy time with others, while other people watch, all with masks. They look at him, seemingly aware he's out of place. He enters a ballroom area and finds the source of the music being played at a grand piano in the back. He tries to look inconspicuous and slowly walks up to the piano player, but never faces him. He relays the line to him. Big Bird is on the street after some sesame. While the pianist is playing, he slips him a napkin. VW continues to stroll out of the room. He enters a stairwell and can hear chanting coming from upstairs. He walks up the stairs and the smell of incense and loud pounding can be heard from the room. He opens the napkin, studies it for a moment before slipping it back into his pocket. He enters the room and we have the Eyes Wide Shut circle of cloaked men. One in the front with incense burning and a staff that he is pounding rhythmically on the floor with a passing of verses of the chant. He stands on the outside of the circle while the bizarre ceremony is done. A large geometric pattern begins to glow in the circle. The crowd, The crowd delighted, but continues to chant. A plasmatic, glowing orb appears and starts to take physical form. Slowly it raises into the air as it materializes into a small child. The MC hands his staff to an assistant, and he reaches his arms out to the child, who has now stopped glowing and is covered in a black slime. Some smoke and crackles pop, and the child is raised into his hands like Simba from hell, for the crowd to look upon and bow to. The child has the head of a balding 20-year-old white nerd who will someday conquer Mars, and get hair plugs. The MC bellows, "Oh, Dark Lord, we thank you on this great night. We have summoned our new leader. Behold, our Vanderkin, the future master of humanity, the bringer of light to this lost realm." Chants continue now more intensely. Wait a minute, everyone. It has been brought to my attention that an impurity has been visited upon this most sacred of occasions. Gasp from the crowd. The MC angrily. Come into the circle, you foul vermin, who has besmirched our unhallowed grounds. VW begins to shake. The circle looks at each other and notices he's the only one they are not familiar with. The circle closes in around him, and he feels a magnetic-like pull toward the center.
Excuse me, my fine young man. Have you the password? Have you the password?
Says the leader to VW. Nervously, VW relays. 3284 TAT5 L. A great silence in the room echoes for what feels like an eternity.
That's, is the Wi-Fi password.
Oh! Gasp from the crowd.
That's the old password.
We just updated it 2 weeks ago.
Oh, shut up,
says the MC. Horace swoops in as usual and drops him off at Moe's front door. We can hear the thrash metal show is now in full swing. VW enters and manages to get kicked in the head accidentally before crashing into a pile of merch.
Sorry, man.
VW regains his composure after rubbing his eyes for a minute and decides to take a walk down the street instead. He passes the arcade and we see Ahmed on his date with Rio as they arrive with the hobo as their chauffeur in the Mercedes. Arcade night. Ahmed and Rio go to the arcade. A large bouncer checks them in, and they walk to the back to check out the pinball machines. Let's go to the pinball machines! Shortly after, Brad walks in with a beer in hand, upset and looking for his girlfriend.
Crystal! Crystal! God damn it, Crystal!
You can't bring shitty beer in here. Actually, you can't bring any beer, but you especially can't bring shitty beer. Defeated, he slinks into the busy arcade, calling for
Crystal!
The truck pulls out front, and the cabbie with a jumpsuit that reads Nintendo Co. He lowers a cabinet from the back and wheels it into the front. The bouncer stops him. Hey man, it's alright this time, but next time would you mind going in through the back door? You're going to have a hard time getting through the crowd.
Hey, no problemo. I just got this job yesterday's all.
Hey, far out. Shine on, brother. Cabbie rolls forward with the cabinet. People shout and some move out of the way, while others get bumped and spill their drinks. Eventually, the cabbie gets into a single step in the middle of the arcade that separates the front area from the back area. He slowly eases the wheels down to the step, and then hears a giggle from Rio nearby playing a game with Ahmed. Brad walks past and accidentally bumps into Ahmed and knocks the cup of quarters on the floor, along with some drinks that hit Rio and drench her top to bottom. The cabbie sees this and loses his focus. Rio then bends down and begins picking up the quarters. Her wet pants reveal her underwear slightly, and the cabbie has completely lost his composure. The arcade comes crashing down to the floor. People around him continue to shout, and Brad also sees Rio and the money. He slowly walks by in the commotion and steals a few quarters on the floor without anyone noticing. Brad decides to play one game that appears to be vacant. It's Flutes of Power, and he's not very good at it. He curses the game, but he keeps playing. We'll watch his eyes become slowly more and more dazed by the electronic glow and flicker of the screen. And he's now in a bizarre land that resembles the video game levels. He turns and squints. He sees a group of large, armored men racing toward him on dinosaurs. Office, Japan. Moto is working on a picture of the men in armor on dinosaurs that we just saw. He is deep into work and doesn't notice he dropped his keys on the floor. It's clearly a different day, maybe a year or so earlier than the previous events. He's not in his cubicle. Gunpei the janitor is silently picking up trash in the main area, but can see over to where Moto is sitting. He hears the keys drop and walks over to him, picks them up, and taps him on the shoulder. Oh, thank you so much, Gunpei-san. Oh, thank you so much, Gunpei-san. A slight bow of gratitude.
You're quite talented, young man. You are quite talented, young man. You will do well here. I may just be the custodian, but I recognize success in people when I see it. He smiles. Moto puts down his pencil. You're too kind, sir. My father has an office on the top floor. He says I lack focus on my work. Oh, you're Yamaguchi's boy. Yeah, I can see it now. You will be running this place in no time, I'm sure. You might find this surprising, but he didn't hire me. In fact, he was completely against it. He actually doesn't understand my aspirations at all. He wanted me to become an engineer at Toyota, believe it or not. Let me show you something. Gunpei pulls out a neatly folded paper with schematics. It's a portable device for games. Moto's eyes grow wide. Well, wait, you designed this? Ha! Ha ha! I didn't think of old Gunpei had any fire left in his belly, eh? Yeah, Moto folds the paper back up and hands it to Gunpei. Someday you're gonna make it. It'll be real. Potential for next episode. Brad is shown briefly on the planet of the mercenaries, being suited up for battle to access one of the flutes. Helmets obscure his face entirely, and he becomes yet another faceless grunt among tens of thousands.
The end.